Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 horror action film The Prey, Legend of Karnoctus, a film that is directed by the Henson brothers and it stars Nick Chinlund, Danny Trejo, Kevin Grievo and Adrian Paul. Now the film focuses on a group of mercenaries, I suppose, over in Afghanistan. And they pull off a daring heist to basically steal some gold. And they then hide this gold in like this cave. At the same time, there is a group of American soldiers who get ambushed by some Afghani soldiers. And they then have to kind of run to this cave for safety. And when they get in there, the cave is then blown, closed, and they are stuck in this cave with this bunch of mercenaries, but also there is a creature called a Karnoctus that is within this cave that starts stalking them one at a time. Right, what are my thoughts on The Prey, Legend of Karnoctus? Well, this film stars a bunch of names, or certainly faces that you may well recognise. Nick Chinlund is a face who's done quite a lot of things over the years. You'll recognise him from things like Con Air, Danny Trejo, Kevin Grievo. He's done things like the Underworld movies. Usually plays like bad guys, big brutish bad guys. And Adrian Paul, you may remember, I think he did like the Highlander TV series, things like that. Now, Danny Trejo and Adrian Paul are barely in the film. It's worth mentioning that right off the bat. The main two characters here are Nick Chinlund and the Kevin Grievo character, Tagger and Reed, these two mercenaries in the cave, as well as these other US military soldiers that are in this cave with them. So once they're in this cave, basically this film doesn't go beyond these guys needing to get out of this cave because the entrance has been blown up, it's blocked, they have to find another way out, so they're making their way deeper into the cave. And they're being stalked by this creature, and they're hoping to find another exit. That's it. That's the film. We don't really learn anything about any of the characters. So, unfortunately, when things start happening in this film, when you start losing characters, you don't care. You're not even sure who they are, if I'm honest. I couldn't even tell you their names for the most part, and I certainly couldn't tell you, anything about them in regards to any kind of fleshed out character, because you get absolutely none of that in this film, which is a massive shame, because films like this can work. It's a fairly low budget, corny affair, and it has, certainly at the beginning of the film, it feels like it has like a lighter approach. It almost feels like it's a comedy horror action film at one point at the early stages of the film. But that humour kind of dissolves fairly quickly once they get in this cave. But I think if they'd have kept that lighter tone, it might have helped the film a little bit better. Because I just couldn't get behind these characters, being stalked by this creature. A creature that you barely ever see, and this film essentially is a Predator ripoff, but in a cave rather than a jungle. You even get clips of this creature looking at the soldiers through, and you get to see what it can see, very similar to the Predator. And you don't get to see very much of this creature, and that doesn't necessarily seem like a bad thing, because I can't and couldn't work out if it looked decent or not. It was quite a unique design, I'll give it that. And it made a lot of clicking noises, a bit like the Predator, I suppose. But because it was so dark in this cave, you couldn't really make out much of this creature. Even right at the end, when it's like one-on-one with folk, you don't really get like full glimpses of this creature. And I'm not sure if it's because they didn't have any confidence in the design of it, or if it just looked terrible, or what, but you couldn't really give a massive opinion either way as to what this creature looked like. At times it looked a bit daft, and then at other times it looked fairly menacing. So this film is just not complex in any way, shape or form. You get the setup at the beginning, them doing the heist, these US soldiers head into the cave as they've been ambushed, and then once they're in the cave, boom, that's it, you move there. You've got these people that have got to work together to try and survive this legendary creature within this cave that's taking them out one at a time. And if that sounds appealing to you, then you might enjoy this film. I personally found it a bit of a bore fest for the most part, this film, because it didn't do anything original with the idea, with the genre. It did feel like, obviously, it had ripped off what had come before. But a positive here is, I suppose, all the performances by everybody here are on point. You kind of, I didn't have an issue with any of the acting performances. You've got the usual hard nuts. You've got the usual whiny soldier, so on and so forth. You've got these soldiers that kind of fit in these certain categories, sort of thing. You got the sportive one, the whiny one, the butch one, the manly one, the female one. You get all of these different type of soldiers, but that's it. You don't get to learn anything more about any of them, and that's a shame, because films like this, you need to care about these sort of characters. It's like Predator. You care about those characters when they get taken out. You've learned a little bit about them. You've got to know them. You've got a little bit of affection for them. So when they get taken out, you feel bad, and you feel bad for them. And you don't want them to get taken out. In here, like I say, you just don't care. So if you were looking for a bargain basement Predator type film, this is certainly watchable. The production values are all decent. The performances are good. And the effects aren't bad. But for me, it just fell short. I'm going to be reasonably generous and give this one a 5 out of 10. For the reasons that I've explained, I thought the performances, the production values, and all that kind of stuff were fairly decent. Everything else, I think, was substandard. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.